Hey guys, it's your girl Veronica with Change in Love, and as promised, if you guys follow me on Instagram at Veronica Pomee, I posted about creating a video blog that addresses my anxiety and depression. I want to first of all say that it's so crazy that I'm talking about this, but I also have to share the fact that I am a perfectionist, and it takes so long for me to create these video blogs and even to make like 1 minute videos for content on my Instagram. So I'm going to try my best to just go through this as a way to show you guys that that's also part of like anxiety, is like having control over things, and it's like that's not real. So I want to first off say that I'm going to try to have like a really open dialogue and act as if I'm just having a conversation with you, with the viewers, whoever you are watching this. And I want to thank you guys for watching this. I also want to say that this video will be a little long. I'm going to really try not to keep it long, but you also have to understand that there's so many layers to this conversation that this, should be one of many. And hopefully you guys see that, and everything that I'm trying to do is really trying to create like the reversal process of all the emotional mental damage that has been done, all the conditioning that has already happened. Let me breathe. So I feel like anxiety, there's so many different subcategories under anxiety that eventually lead into depression. And it's basically like the fear of uncertainty, and I have to say that that's all of life. We don't know anything in life to be true. There is nothing that's concrete. Life is all about like those uncertain moments that you don't know or understand until you go through it, That's why I also feel like experience is your best teacher. Like words don't teach you anything. You can read a book all you want and have all these facts in front of you, but it's not gonna register until you actually go through that experience and then you come to like the realization where it's like, oh, this is down the third, So I also feel like it's important to acknowledge the fact that in order for us to know what's good for us, we have to know what's not good for us. That's the whole idea of the yin and yang. I'm also going to be speaking beyond the surface of what like our everyday struggles are and our and the different issues that stem from coming from unstable households. Like if you don't have a strong foundation at home, that's where a lot of these suppressed emotions and these feelings like begin to like fester, and then they like turn into monsters and they overflow into our adult life. And that's where like we don't know how to deal, because no one taught us how to deal with these things, because no one taught our parents. They are behavior patterns that have been passed down for generations and generations. So the whole idea is for us to let's take it beyond those surface levels, and let's think about it as like energy. It's all energy work, and learning how to master yourself and master your energy. So it's like when I first was going through, when I was younger, I went through a whole bunch of, I just had a time period where like I feel like what teenagers go through as far as like being exposed to the outside world, what they were going through in their younger teenagers, like because I was a late bloomer, I probably like went through a whole bunch of different things in like 3 years. And I just thought at the time, that like everyone has these moments and it's just up to you to get through it. Excuse me. And which I did. And that's how Change in Love came about. Like Change in Love was inspired by the thought of like how these young, troubled, at-risk teens go through these things and there's no one there to guide them. So they're being misled by all these outside influences, and they're looking for love in all the wrong places because they didn't understand what love was supposed to feel like because they didn't get it at home. So Change in Love was inspired by that thought, because I remember how I felt, and I was just like, yo, I want to be able to be part of the solution. I want to create spaces where young people can come creatively express themselves without being judged, and like just offer help, be a source of hope or a source of inspiration, helping young people tap into their passions and discover what their purpose is. I feel like that was the way to like get them out of it, until it came back again, where like, once I was like in my 20s, I was like, yo, like this is it's back. And at first I thought that like, oh, okay, another one bites the dust, I'll be able to bounce back. But then it's like you start realizing that these moments start stretching, where like, a few hours you were down and out becomes days, and days become weeks, and then now it's like you're looking at it and it's like months. Thankfully, I don't even know if I've ever been down and out for like 6 months straight, now that I think about all the things that I was like going through like back then. But then I'm also like, I'm sharing this because this literally happened to me. I was like depressed and I was down and out before Sports Illustrated. It took for that experience for me to go through that. Like, I was just like, yes, like I got my second win. I feel like I just got reminded of all the things that like why I wanted this in the first place, and why I was like so passionate about, helping other people, helping myself by helping others. Like, it was having a strong sense of self, and having a high self-esteem and feeling worthy, like feeling deserving. And that's also ultimately why I feel like the formula is in my personal journey, because I know that all of you out there who are watching me are like inspired by me and stuff. And like, I now feel like I have a higher responsibility, I remember like I used to think like, I used to pray and be like, God, like, why me? Why did you put this on me? Or why did you give me this challenge? And now it's like every time I always have to check myself, because I know that like I was fortunate enough to have this kind of understanding. And the way that I process information, I didn't process it in a way where I became a victim to it. It's like I wanted to help other people realize their potential, and like, be awakened to like their highest self. So with that said, if everything is off of energy, we're all energy. Energy doesn't die. I gotta breathe. So the idea is to have creative coping mechanisms that help us filter out our energy, and actually understand how it works within our lives. Oh my gosh, I'm getting like so nervous now. Okay. So the reason why I wanted to do the 7-day clarity challenge with Change in Love is because I feel like these are the certain steps that if you're like down and out, or you're in a funky space, these are like certain, like, these are like very small, subtle things that you can do daily, but that actually help boost your mood. Because like I said, sometimes it becomes so severe that you can't do anything. Like, you physically, mentally, emotionally have already shut down, that you're just uninspired, or you lack the motivation to like want to get, it's not that you don't want to get better, but it's just like something is holding you back. One of my favorite all-time animated movies is Inside Out. I think that that's like the perfect reference for what and how our minds work when we're going through stuff. And it's so important to like really try to seek out the things that make us feel good about ourselves, or about just about life in general. We have to, it's like you have to be pursuing those things daily. And I'm losing my train of thought because I'm getting so nervous talking about this. There's, like I said, there's so many layers to this conversation, and I know that I won't address everything within this video blog, but I also want to be able to help you guys just go back to the basics and realize that it's a basic form of deeper understanding, you know? So I feel like when you are going through those moments of anxiety, it's like we also have to check ourselves and understand that that's all part of life. Like, you guys, I'm sorry. So it's all part of life. And the only way to get through these things is to be able to like be around people or be active in the things that make us feel alive, that make us come alive. A lot of times we have become like such slaves to social media that we forget that real human interaction is like the best booster for our emotions or the way that we feel about ourselves. We're learning to cultivate our own energy and understanding that energy follows thought. So the more that we continue to think about certain things, if it doesn't serve you, like, you should immediately let go of it. That's also part of the 7-day clarity challenge, is where I'm going to be challenging you guys to like meditate for 5 minutes a day. And literally the things that the things that are part of this challenge are real things that I do every day, you know? And like, I've been meditating for like, I don't know, like 5-6 years, and I still haven't mastered it yet. So that's another thing that we all have to understand, is that we have our whole life to live, and we're not going to learn everything and master ourselves overnight. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes diligence, it takes like commitment and like unwavering faith in yourself. So I also want you guys to understand that it's a process. It's a real life journey. People talk about being positive and talk about good vibes only, and like, you know, where they don't really understand that like, it's not just right now in the moment. Like, yes, I want you to be fully present in the moment and like, you know, silence the mind, but you also have to understand that like there's so many years, like, you know, we haven't even lived our full lives yet. Like, and no one has, there is no like right or wrong answer. I think everyone just goes through their own experiences in life, and it's all about you just making the best out of your experience, you know? So I think that that's like first and foremost, that we have to acknowledge the fact that this is a never-ending process. To really gain your self-confidence and your self-worth, you are trying to reverse years of damage, you know? So that's gonna take time. And just as much as it takes time to like be our best possible version of ourselves, it also takes time to freaking be down and out. Like, depression takes practice. So you also have to understand that you have a choice. You know, you definitely have a choice. And it's all about, like I said, it's all about implementing these creative coping mechanisms for you to that's not the right word, for you to heal properly. So a lot of things is energy. If you have to think of everything like in the perspective of energy, you know, we no longer can afford to emotionally hold on to the baggage, you know. And when I say baggage, I mean like all the hurt and the pain and the trauma that we dealt with as kids. Because we also can't blame our parents, because our parents didn't know, you know. They don't know that they didn't even know these things, you know. They weren't encouraged to express themselves. They weren't they come from the thought of survival, you know, just trying to survive, not like really thrive, but you know, just your basic necessities. And that's why I feel like our generation, like right now, it's such a magical time for us to be alive as human beings, because we are starting to tap in to, you know, these different realms of understanding that life is so much more than what we think it is right now in front of us. Like, it's so much more than just waking up and going to work and doing like the same thing. And, you know, where we're like robots, we're like in a routine. We do the same stuff every day, and we're starting to understand that, like, no, it's not. Like, there's so much more to life, and it's all about, like, you know, it's like one of those things, like, are you living or are you just existing? You know, like, whew. I had to breathe again. So yes. So it's all about doing things every day that make you feel, or that give you this like feeling of fulfillment. And that's why I emphasize so much on like young people really like tapping into what their interests are, what their natural talents are, because we weren't encouraged to you know, pursue a job in that field. We were encouraged to pursue things that make us a lot of money. And I feel like that's also a reason why like we're so miserable and unhappy with ourselves, because we're not maximizing our God-given potential, our God-given talents, you know, things that we genuinely have interest in, or that we like, that resonates with the heart. And we're also not even working from the heart, you know. That's what I'm saying. Energy is everything. So it's like you know, you put out, I mean, you get what you give. And that's why it's so important to like really understand things from that perspective, going beyond the surface of what is versus like what you want. Because a lot of people don't know that, you know, the things that you want, like the things that you want in the material world, it proceeds from the way that you cultivate your spirit, you know. I always say this, to this day I always say that, you know, like, you might not see, like, I don't I'm not in a position in my life where like you can see that like I have like physical wealth, but I'm spiritually wealthy, you know, like because no one will ever make me get out of character, as far as like me knowing who I am, what I'm worth, what I bring to the table. Like, that's one thing that I have promised myself. And even when I get into spaces where I do get like a little bit uncomfortable, like, you, like I said, you're constantly having to check yourself. It's something that like every day, like I have to go through, like, you know, where it's like I'm reminding myself that there's so much more to life than like your financial status, or, you know, and that everyone is fronting, like it's all a front. Everyone acts like they know what they're doing, but no one knows what they're doing. Everyone is literally going through something that we don't know of. And that's why, like, it's so important for you to focus on you and what it is that you're doing, and not comparing your journey or yourself to anyone else. Really just focusing on how you can be your best self every day. And I think that when we start to simplify those thoughts and those ideas, it becomes a lot easier for us to maneuver, you know, through our experiences in life. So yes, I think that, you know, it's like changing the way that we process our experiences, and actually looking at it like it's, you know, our emotional escrow. You know, you want to keep that value at an all-time high. So you want to do things that have the highest return. That's why these little small habits that you incorporate to your daily routine is so important, because if you don't, you are now being controlled by the matrix, you know? So you have to understand that it is up to you to change that. And we're also the ones who's changing the generation narratives. We have to understand that, like, we're supposed to be smarter than our parents. We're supposed to be stronger. We're supposed to be wiser. And as we're developing our emotional intelligence, like, we also have to understand that, like, we have to change the way that we have to change the way that we allow certain things to affect us, you know? It's like, if you know better, you do better. And I know that, like, it's easier said than done, because it's something that, like, I literally go through with in my life all the time. But, excuse me, but it's real. Like, you know, I feel like we become so accustomed to lazy thinking habits that we end up getting in our in our own way. Like, so it's just like certain little tweaks that we have to do in terms of like how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about life, how do we define the meaning of life. You know, it's just little things. I also, I'll save this for like a different video blog, but I also believe that exercise is the best medicine. You know, because there's something about being physically active that makes people feel good about themselves. That's a fact. Like, there is no way in denying that. That's why I'm also very passionate about like having this conversation beyond what like the plus size industry entails, of how, you know, how big girls like grow up not feeling happy with their bodies because we don't have clothes that fits us. That's like honestly, that's like surface level bullshit, you know, because underneath those clothes, at the end of the day, if you don't feel good about yourself, you don't feel like, it doesn't take clothes. Like, it's not that clothes makes you feel good. That's like, that's conditioning. That's human conditioning. And you guys can also look that up, do your own research, where back in the day when we were at war, there was like a psychologist who actually strategically planted propaganda to help influence people's minds and influence the consumer into buying things because it made them feel good about themselves. That's how they started off with influencing the votes, or getting people to like whoever, like the person was the dictatorship president. Like I said, you guys can go and research that on your own. But when it comes to like big girls and like, you know, this plus size community, and we want clothes that fit us, and we want the same styles that skinny people have, and yada yada yada, okay, I'm all for that. But at the end of the day, as someone who was big, where my biggest, I was a size 24, and I felt like crap. I did not feel happy about myself, and it didn't matter what it was that I was wearing. Like, at the end of the day, underneath all those clothes, when you strip all those things and I'm at home by myself, I'm going through these feelings and I'm going through these emotions, and you can't hide that with clothes, you know? And that's why, like, I'm so passionate about, like, yes, like, I'm encouraging you to love yourself and love your body and embrace your flaws, but at the same time, it's also up to you. Like, if you want to feel better about yourself, you have to commit yourself to the things that are going to make you feel better. And let's face it, like, especially because I'm an emotional eater. So it's like, when I'm down and out, I resort to food. Like, and there's a lot of energy in food as well. Like, that's another thing that people don't understand. Like, we get so much energy from food. It's called chi. You can go research that yourself as well. We get chi from food. And so when we eat things that don't have the chi, which is real nutritional value, and I'm talking about nutritional value because it comes from the earth. And if everything is energy, anything that's alive and breathing is energy. So we get pure natural energy from the food that we eat. But because the food that we are exposed to have been like, it's so saturated and watered down with pesticides, GMOs, chemicals, you know, hormonal, like, just everything. You guys have to go research that. That's also the reason why I became a vegetarian, because I started understanding that, like, all of life, like, it all serves its purpose in one way or another. So it's like the food that we eat, the things that we're doing, like our circle of influence, those things mean the world when we're talking about mental health. The people in your life, they say that you're like the top 5 people you surround yourself with every day. So you have to start checking the people around you. If they're not bringing anything to the table, if they're not making you feel better, like, you know, like if you're not taking a little value from every conversation that you're having, you're not having constructive conversations, you're not having productive conversations with the people around you in your life. Like, we have to start checking every single thing in our lives. That's like the ultimate like guide to really owning yourself and taking control, walking in your truth, and healing from anxiety and depression is actually monitoring your thoughts, monitoring the people that's in your life, monitoring the things that you're doing that have the highest return, that have like real value and serve like real purpose in your life. Like I said, there's so many layers to this conversation, and I just hope that like in this video you guys take away something from what I'm like, you know, I'm trying to cover. And like I feel like I'm all over the place, like and so I'm gonna end it on that note. Like, the 7-day clarity challenge that is starting this Saturday with Change in Love is a way to just open you up to maybe understanding yourself better, and how it is that you can get better day by day, because it's the small things. You know, a lot of people ask me like how I remain balanced. Like, it's all the little things that you guys don't see me doing. You know, that's the only way I would say is how I like really deal with the big things, or when it starts getting crazy in my schedule, is because like the things that you guys don't see me doing is what makes the world of a difference when you guys do see me putting in work. Because, you know, like I have to really I have to cultivate my thoughts, you know. I have to be the one that's like motivating myself day in and day out, because if not me, then who? You know, I'm the only one that's stopping me, and I'm the only one that's also going to get me to that next level. And also I'm very, very, very passionate about holding myself to a certain standard, and which also in return makes me very selective with who I invite into my circle, and who I invite to share this experience with. Because it's like I already go through so many things on my own that I can't afford to take on anyone else's emotional baggage, you know. So I'm very selective with who I allow into my life, what type of energy I'm willing to entertain, what type of energy I'm willing to tolerate. I think it's so extremely important to really, it's not about being selfish, it's about being self-empowered, you know. It's really about owning who you are, walking in your truth, and like living your authentic, like being your authentic self. You know, that's the only thing you can do. Like, that's the only thing you really have control over, is being your best self, because then at least you can say you gave it your all. And I think ultimately that's how you heal from these things, is like really forgiving yourself for not being perfect, and not like being this whole like, you know, made up idea that like you're supposed to be in a certain place by a certain time, up to like living to other people's expectations. Like, nah, like you define who you are. And I think that we have to go back to the basics of really cultivating our self-worth, developing a strong sense of self, building our self-esteem from the inside out, tapping into our talents, the things that what makes us special, what makes us unique. You know, there's so many things about us that we don't like, but what do we like about ourselves? That's where you start. You know, that's where those are the places that you go to. Like, what are the things that do make you special, and what makes you unique? You know, how can you, that's the way where to turn your weaknesses into your strengths, you know, where at least you're trying, you're fighting. So like I said, this is like very long and I'm so sorry, but I'm also so appreciative to all of you who like sat there and watched this video. And I just appreciate it. Like, I appreciate you guys so much. It means everything. It's the reason why I do what I do. There's a definite method to the madness. So like, thank you for following the journey this far. There's so many different things that like I want to do, but like I said, there's layers to this conversation. There's certain steps that need to take place before I can reach like, or I can be in a position to really carry out what like what I think could really help our generation, and really be able to like propose like real life concrete solutions to help. Ultimately, that like, that's just like my goal. That's my end goal with all of this. And it's not even there, it's not an end goal because it probably won't happen in my lifetime, but I'm definitely like, I'm here to be part of the solution. I don't want to keep talking about what the problems are. We already know what it is. I want to be part of the solution, and actually want to, while I'm still here on this earth, I want to be part of that group who like still like served as a source of hope. I think that's what makes us thrive as an entire human species. And and it just makes life worth living when you think about things in that way. So I'm so sorry this is so long, but I really, 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 really appreciate each and every one of you. I don't even care if it was like 2-3 people who watch this. At least like the message is coming through. And yeah, follow Change in Love. Follow me at Veronica Pome on Instagram. Follow my Twitter at vpome. And like, I try to drop everything in doses, because I don't